episode of our Drunken History. Today we are actually excited because it's our first fan-requested show.
Yeah.
So we are popping our cherry.
So we had a listener request that we do an episode a little bit on pirate lore and buried treasure. And
mostly treasure hunting, but with that goes hand in hand the pirate thing. So Delana, just want to give a shout out. Thank you for the recommendation.
It's been a pretty interesting week doing some research into this. I'm a big fan of pirates anyway, and the whole buried treasure and all that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a cool part of our it is American history, but it's Mexican history, it's South American history, Spanish history.
Yeah.
It can span a lot of the world and even into other areas of the world as well.
Yeah.
So if you got pirates down there, this one's for you.
That's right. Well, what do you want to start off with?
Well, I was actually gonna start off with saying I wore my Jolly Roger shirt and I got my hat with Calico Jack's flag on it. I was gonna tell about my hat.
There you go.
So I was stationed. Well, I wasn't stationed. I was deployed to a country in Africa, a very little known country called Djibouti. It's just north of Ethiopia and across from Yemen, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait across from Yemen. And one of the missions that we ran over there was anti-piracy.
Yeah, the Somali pirates.
Captain Phillips, we flew a lot of the reconnaissance stuff, surveillance stuff for that whole incident, and I was over there for it, and all of us got patches, pirate patches to honor that. So I thought I wear this hat all the goddamn time anyway. But that's what this is from anti-piracy missions in Djibouti, and I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, so pirates are America's probably most well-known treasure influencers.
Yeah, I mean, you always, when you're a little kid, you playing pirates or whatever, and you're looking for buried treasure. There's always that fantasy of, man, if I could find a chest full of gold somewhere. And
well, it's cool if you look at how many different pop culture icons were inspired by treasure hunting.
Yeah. I
mean, you've got Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Big time treasure hunter. You've got Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Over in Egypt hunting treasure. The movie Sahara about the ship, which we'll get into that because that is actually based on a true story.
Well, National Treasure, they was fighting or looking for all that treasure. It was like a scavenger hunt basically through that whole movie.
And that's the thing too, kids games.
Yeah.
That this gets into. Scavenger hunt. If you have kids and you're tired of dealing with their shit, put them on a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
It's a great way for kids to have a good time and you to get a little chill time.
There's even some websites where you go to that helps you out with clues and stuff to give, and you can create your own scavenger hunts and stuff like that.
When Keisha's family was here over COVID summer, we did scavenger hunts through the neighborhood, and it was awesome. The kids loved it.
Well, they've even went high tech with that stuff now. Have you heard of geocaching?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so it's basically an adult scavenger hunt. So is what it is they use GPS and stuff now with it, but I'm not totally familiar with it, but they'll give you GPS coordinates that get you close, and then they give you a clue or whatever, and then you find a hidden item, and it's like in parks and places like that.
Okay.
And you'll find like a little treasure box or a little capsule or whatever, and you can either take something out of it or you add something to it, and then you put it back for the next person to find, and then you go to the next clue or whatever. And
so growing
up,
some of the radio stations would do things like that. There's one that did it a few years ago where they would hide a rock. It was a dentist that would hide the rock, and they would put out a daily clue over the radio, and then you had to go find it, and the winner got like $10,000 or something.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, one of the radio stations used to do Find the Magic Pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
And it was essentially the same thing. They would put out a daily clue, and then you'd have to go find it and it was in a park or some public place.
I think they did it too. They put them on like hiking trails and stuff like that all over, and that way you'd get people out and in the nature and getting some exercise.
It's just fun. It's always fun to try and figure shit out.
Yeah. Well, and I think too the mystery of it. People love solving mysteries. I mean, they have games now like the murder mystery games and stuff. Where have you seen that? No. So there's.
I have not.
So talk about solving.
I don't get out of the shed much.
Well, so they have it now where you can order. It's like a subscription service. And you get one a month or something like that, and it's a murder mystery game. To where I think some of the murders and stuff are actually based off of real murders.
Really?
And like you get crime scene photos and evidence descriptions and suspect lists and all that. And you go through and follow the evidence and try to solve the murder.
That sounds like.
And then you submit your results and stuff like that online, and then they grade it and see what your score. Yeah,
it's like detective practice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's funny because there's a company, and I cannot remember their name right now. It's called Blackbeard's Treasure, I think. And they do a very similar thing. They have hidden $1 million.
Really?
In 10 different states. So it's a $10 million total. And it's New York, Illinois, Texas, California. I think it's the 10 most populated states. I can't attest, surely to that. But I believe it's the 10 most populated states. They've hidden $1 million, and it's $49.99 for your treasure map and some clues.
Really?
And you can go on your very own treasure hunt and legit get $1 million.
We may have to look into that.
Well, we're going to get into the Forrest Finn treasure too because I became a little obsessed with it.
There's.
I don't know if you guys know who Forrest Finn is, but you will by the end of the show. Forrest Finn was badass.
Well, and speaking of that though too, I mean, there's so many shipwrecks that they're just now discovering too. Shipwrecks that were just merchant ships that wrecked, but also there's pirate ships that crashed.
I saw where last week off the coast of Colombia they found 2 ships that were loaded with Spanish gold. And
do you know what they valued that wreck for?
I did not see.
$13 billion is what that wreck.
With a B?
With a B. With a capital B, billion.
That's the most then. I got it. I think.
The it's off the coast of Colombia, and like the Colombian Agency of Antiquities or whatever handles their historical sites has basically claimed it. I think they're going to work with whoever found it, but they're going to develop a plan to help recover it. They've hired this big underwater salvage company with ROVs.
Probably James Cameron.
Yeah. We're going to get off on a tangent, but the whole actually that might be another episode because the whole James Cameron thing and finding the Titanic was a ruse. They weren't actually looking for the Titanic.
No, I knew that. They were looking for a different ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I had read that before.
So instead of going off on a tangent on that, we'll save that for another episode. Mark the Titanic right there. That'll leave a little mystery to it. Cliffhanger. But yeah, they found that off the coast and they're working on a salvage plan and all that.
So that's my question is it truly finders keepers? Or was it in like Columbia national waters still, so they lay claim to it, or how does it work?
I don't know exactly on that particular case, and I think it's different from each country because there's some, like in the Caribbean, I was watching a show on the Discovery Channel, I think it was, about a guy that was looking for some shipwrecks. And you know how they basically, it's like almost like a mining permit you'd get out west.
So you get like a shipwrecking permit?
It's like a salvage permit, and you get...
Really?
You apply for basically a grid square of where you're wanting to salvage wrecks at. So, and you get permits.
You call dibs.
You call dibs, yeah. But you got to pay to get your permits so it's government trying to get their money. But then I think also the government gets a cut of whatever you find too.
Huh. So here's my question. If you, Trav, found Blackbeard's treasure. Blackbeard's treasure is like the most sought after one. I don't know if that's the most valuable, but it's the one that everybody wants.
Yeah.
If you found Blackbeard's treasure, would you get to keep the treasure or like a cash equivalent? And then they like put it in like museums or whatever.
I would kind of both. I would like to maybe keep something that was the actual treasure as like a memento. But then I would also like to have most of it go to like a museum. So I would take the cash equivalent and then maybe keep a souvenir though. That way I could put it on a display or something behind some bulletproof
I can
glass.
find that. I'd do that too, I think.
Maybe a coin or a golden skull or something like Indiana Jones, maybe.
Yeah. All right. That's cool.
But I've also thought of that.
I would, because you'd be rich as shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I would put in a pool, but then I would put in like Blackbeard's plank.
Oh,
instead of a diving board. Like,
yeah.
I'd make people walk the plank.
Make it look like a pirate ship from.
I would buy the one from Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, because that's one thing about finding buried treasure too, and not to dog on England or anything like that, but you hear about people digging in their backyards in England and finding Roman coins and Roman gold, and then the government come in and just take it all. And it's like that gold has been missing for thousands of years, and I find it in my backyard and I don't get to keep any of it.
Just wouldn't tell nobody.
Yeah, and if that was the case and my government was overreaching that far, I wouldn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah,
I'd melt it down.
Yeah.
And then go trade it in at a pawn shop for gold price.
When I was a little kid, through Billings, they have the Billings Bench Water Association Canal.
Yeah.
And it's like for irrigation canal. But they drain it for the winter. Yeah. So that's like a popular thing to do is go walk and see what kind of shit you can find. I found 5 pesos in there one time. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever because it was like my own gold coin. It was worth like... fuck all.
A nickel.
Not even.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I carried it in my pocket for years.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good luck, though.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, too. Now, the magnet fishing has gotten to be big, and that's kind of looking for treasure.
Yeah.
You see those guys on YouTube.
It is. Anytime you find something you didn't expect to,
yeah,
you're a treasure hunter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like the draw of it, too. It's excitement because you never know what's going to come up.
Yeah. I agree. It's the thrill of the chase for me is the real prize.
Yeah.
Finding something would be awesome, but I want to get into the Forrest Finn thing because I was fucking sure I knew where this was, and I wasn't too far off, to be perfectly honest. But anyway,
yeah,
that's for later in the show. It was not. The treasure would have been great, and I mean, yeah, it was worth like $5.4 million, which would have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But when I thought about it, it wasn't me thinking about the point of finding the treasure. It was the journey of it. It was hanging out with my friends, rafting down a river. It was like all these different experiences.
It's like the
Goonies. Also based on a treasure hunt. Yeah. One-Eyed Willie.
One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I have to go watch that. Yeah, because that's
How many movies are based on treasure hunting? Like we said, Indiana Jones, The Goonies, Sahara, National Treasure. They're just all of them. All the good ones.
People love a good treasure hunt.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. So, all right. So, going back to, you was talking about your hat a while ago and the flag. So we can kind of go on that route a little bit and talk about the flags. So most people know, what'd you call that one?
Well, it's a version of the Jolly Roger, but it's Calico Jack's flag. Calico Jack was a very famous pilot. He was hung, I believe, in Puerto Rico. I think I read that before. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in, I think it was Puerto Rico. It may have been Cuba. I would have to look it up. But I didn't have a lot of time to do research today. I was on a little treasure hunt of my own. Me and the wife ended up bidding on an auction, and we won an Airstream. So I had to drive all the way up near Tulsa to pick up my new Airstream today.
New to you, Airstream?
New to me, Airstream. It's not a new one by any means, but a little bit of elbow grease, and we're going to have that thing look like a baked potato.
Heck yeah. The thing's pretty nice.
It's pretty all right. Yeah. Anyway, not to go off on our tangent.
So,
but I think he was hung in Puerto Rico. But several pirates flew what is called a Jolly Roger, or a version of. Most of you know who Blackbeard is.
Yeah.
And Edmund Teach was his name.
Edward Teach.
Edward Teach.
Well, and the thing is, too, with Blackbeard, it was kind of interesting. There was several different versions of pirate flags associated with him, and there's always kind of still that mystery that nobody knows exactly what his flag was, because when I was doing mine, I found at least 3 different ones that they said he flew, and he might have flown all 3.
Well, yeah, at different points in his life he may have. But the most famous one is the skeleton with the spear and the heart.
Yep.
Which I think is a fucking cool looking
And
flag.
we'll put pictures of these up on the screen too on YouTube.
It is a cool ass flag, and I actually have one on my. I have the Blackbeard flag.
Yeah.
One of these, a Velcro patch on my range bag.
Yeah.
That I take when I go down to the gun range.
Shoot, yeah. Yeah. So the Jolly Roger, the traditional black flag with a skull and crossbones, is like the pirate flag that everybody knows, and that's the one that's really. That one was actually the most flown flag in the heyday of the pirates, and it was in the 1720s. That was the most popular flag they flew, was the Jolly Roger. But then the skeleton stabbing the heart was the other one, and then they had one of the other flags associated with Blackbeard was a black flag with just a skull on it, no crossbones.
No crossbones,
just a skull. So,
would Blackbeard be your favorite of the pirates? You think? I think he's the most famous.
He's probably the most famous, and he actually had one of the shortest careers. He was only a pirate.
Yeah, he was only a pirate for like 4 or 5 years, right? Yeah.
Well, the thing is too.
You want some of this ice?
Oh yeah, I'll take some ice. Well, so while we're talking about pirates, and a lot of the American history of pirates talks about Pirates of the Caribbean, and one of their main staples on the pirate ship was rum. So we're going to be drinking some rum tonight. We got some different cocktails, some different recipes we'll try. So one of the things too with pirate flags, they flew different colors of flags, and sometimes they flew.
They weren't all black.
No, and
I didn't know that.
So most of the time they would fly flags of a different country, like they when they were just normally out
to approach
sea,
a ship, or to avoid being
caught, because
everybody was trying. All the Spanish, British governments, they were trying to kill the pirates.
Every pirate basically had a price on their head for being a pirate.
You tell me when here, bud.
That'll work right there. I'll throw something on top of that here. Yeah. So pirates they would fly traditional colors of other countries when they were just out and about, but when they wanted to attack a ship, they would hoist.
Then they'd hoist the
They would hoist their colors, their black flag, normally whatever symbol it had on.
Just to say "fuck you" before we get you.
Well, so is they would hoist the flag and approach another vessel, and that was actually a warning to the vessel, because they were going to take that vessel regardless.
So it was just telling them either just give up,
yes,
or we're going to fuck you up.
Exactly. So is what they would do is
that.
they would allow another ship to surrender, and if they surrendered. Because that's actually what they wanted anyway, because they didn't want to.
Well, they don't want to get in a fight if you don't have to.
Exactly.
That's just dumb.
Well, because back then, if you got shot, you may survive it, but then you may die 3 days later from an infection or something, So
yeah.
They didn't want to fight unless they had to. They would allow it. So the black flag would allow surrender, and they might take the crew over, and they'd give the crew of the commandeered vessel an option to either join their crew and become a pirate, or they'd maroon them, leave them on an island somewhere, take all their shit and leave them somewhere. Well,
that sucked too.
If a vessel decided to fight back, a lot of times they would lower their black flag and raise the red flag of blood, basically, and that meant no quarter given. So they was going to kill everybody on that boat.
So that's where it came from. East Carolina University Pirates, their slogan is "No quarter."
Yep.
That's where it came from. I
did
not know that either.
If a pirate vessel approached you with a red flag,
it just meant you're going to die.
Yeah, so you better fight. So there's a story of a pirate ship, Bartholomew Roberts, in 1720. He sailed into a harbor in Trepassey, Newfoundland, in Canada.
Is that Black Bart?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Black Bart. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
He flew into a harbor in Canada, flying his black flags, and the crews of 20 ships surrendered that was anchored in the bay, because out of fear and out of respect, they didn't want to get murdered. That's how the people respected or feared the black flags on pirate ships.
Start flying one on my truck.
Yeah. So going back to that, speaking of that, there is, I don't know see if you know this, there is one U.S. Navy vessel that flies a Jolly Roger as their colors.
I have read this. Which is it?
So the USS Kidd is a Arleigh Burke. Actually, there's been 3 vessels named the Kidd, but the most recent is the USS Kidd. It's an Arleigh Burke cruise missile destroyer, and it's actually named after Admiral Kidd, who was the rear admiral in charge of the battleships on the Pacific Fleet during World War II, and he died on the USS Arizona. He was the first admiral, the highest ranking officer to die in the attack on Pearl Harbor.
No shit.
And he actually got the Congressional Medal of Honor for that because he was off the ship when the attack started, and he went to the ship and got on the bridge and started trying to get the ship underway and getting the guns online, and he started commanding the resistance back to the attack when a bomb hit the bridge and
took him out
and took the ship out. The gun magazine went off and it sank the ship. And
that's a big set of balls to go into that when you really don't have to.
Yeah, well, so
when you just know you should.
A few years later, Navy divers, they never recovered his body. He's still actually listed as missing in action. They sent Navy divers to recover what they could from all the crew members from the ship. They actually found his Naval Academy ring fused, like melted to one of the bulkheads of the ship that was underwater still. So they left that, and they actually found, I think, one of his trunks of belongings from his stateroom, and they recovered that and sent it back to his relatives and stuff. But yeah, they found his ring like melted to the ship, where I guess either the explosion or the fire or whatever. Yeah. That's incredible. So it's named after Admiral Kidd, but Admiral Kidd, when he was a West Point cadet, he got the nickname Cap, and they referencing him to Captain Kidd from the Pirates. So the USS Kidd flies when they're leaving port. They don't fly it when they're out to sea, but when they're coming into port or out to port in the U.S., they hoist this like 50-foot Jolly Roger flag. And the ship, so on those destroyers, it's a cruise missile destroyer, but they have a 5-inch gun on the deck for defense or for. Yeah. And on the back side of the bulkhead of that gun, they have a big Jolly Roger mural painted on the back of that gun.
That is so cool.
And on all the doors, what do they call those? The bulkhead doors. Yeah. They have pirate flags and stuff painted. And that's like their Captain Kidd is their mascot on the ship. That's really
cool, man.
Yeah.
See, pirate ship names were cool. Like, Blackbeard's ship was the Queen Anne's Revenge. Yeah. Which is just fucking cool.
That was really cool because that's how they think he got his start. He was actually Blackbeard has a whole lot of mystery around him to begin with. They think they didn't confirm it. They think he was in the British Royal Navy.
Yeah, I've read
serving under Queen Anne during the French and Indian Wars.
Yeah.
And against the French and the Spanish during that time. That's where he got his seafaring abilities and stuff. And then when he became a privateer, so that's what some people don't.
That's what they call pirates, as privateers.
Well, so is what.
But privateers were government sanctioned.
Government sanctioned pirates.
Where pirates were outlaws.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So they got their articles of writ. They call it. It's basically your pirate permit.
Yeah.
So you had to pay dues to the country. He started off as a privateer for England, and got tired of paying his dues and just decided to freelance. And that's what a lot of pirates started off.
He was a mercenary.
Yeah. They started off as a privateer and then decided they didn't want to pay their taxes to the government.
I can see that. I would have a hard time. I don't like paying my own damn
taxes. Yeah. So, but yeah, they think, and that's why they think he named the ship Queen Anne's Revenge because of the French and Indian Wars.
Middle finger?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab that Coke.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
So while we're mixing this up a drink right here, so one of the, have you ever heard of grog?
Yeah. I've heard the term.
So back in the day, on a ship, they didn't have water filters or any way to purify water, and water would it
would go bad.
It would go bad.
It would get nasty.
Well, they always kept on board.
They just kept it in like casks.
They just put it in barrels, yeah. But there's no way to keep it fresh, so eventually it would go bad. It would grow bacteria in it, and
people would get sick. You're already sick as shit on a ship anyway.
Yeah. So, what they would do is they'd always kept high proof rum or alcohol on board,
and it lasted the longest.
Because it wouldn't go bad, and they didn't really know why. They didn't know have the the knowledge of molecular biology at that point.
Yeah.
But they knew that if they mixed some of that alcohol with their nasty water, they wouldn't get sick. So grog was basically nasty water mixed.
It was like rum ditch.
Yeah. And then, do you want a lime in yours?
Yeah, I mean, might as well.
So what we've done
We are
here,
doing a pirate show.
we've got rum and Coke with some lime.
Thank you, sir.
And there is your Cuba Libre drink from the Caribbean. So they realized, though, too, to make it taste a little better when they were in the Caribbean, they've discovered limes, citrus.
Yeah.
And they'd put a little bit of lime juice in their grog to make it taste a little better. And then they realized...
the flag.
That's right. Pretty good.
That is pretty damn all right.
That is awesome.
We're good shed bartenders.
That's right. So they didn't realize it at the time. Scurvy was really bad, and they eventually figured out that
Okay, first off, let's get into what does scurvy do to you.
Scurvy. I actually got a list of symptoms right here. So like
Scurvy's shit. It just sucks.
So it is a deficiency of vitamin C. There's some animals that actually can produce naturally their own supply of vitamin C, but humans aren't one of them. So
I didn't know that.
you have to intake vitamin C into your diet some way and so the vitamin C deficiency starts off with just weakness and lethargy, being tired, and then your muscles start getting sore. Then it causes you to have a decreased red blood cell count, so you get anemic. Then it onsets gum disease. So you see a lot of pirates or the pictures and stuff. Pirates or sailors missing teeth.
Yeah.
You'd get gum disease and your teeth would fall out eventually. And then it would advance to the point to where you would be like hemophiliac, where if you got
a cut, you would just
bleed, or you would just start bleeding like out of your nose, or your gums would bleed and stuff. And eventually it was lethal. It was fatal that if you didn't get and it's 100% reversible. No matter what stage it's in, if you start taking in vitamin C, you start healing. I mean, you're not going to grow your teeth back, but
that was my next question.
Yeah.
Do your teeth come? No, I'm kidding. Guys, drink your damn orange juice.
Yeah, don't get scurvy.
Prevent the scurvy.
It's actually still to this day though, one of the leading indicators of malnutrition. Some third world countries or some places where they think
Is scurvy?
it's still it happens in some places. Yeah.
Huh. We just want to say, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and operate a pirate ship.
Yeah.
Have a plan.
They and the law is different in every state, but actually, speaking of pirate ships and boating, usually the blood alcohol content for a DUI on the water is actually less than it is in a car.
That is true.
So don't drink and boat either.
That's right.
Have a designated boat driver.
Don't be dumb. And don't steal shit from other people. And be a pirate.
Yeah. So pirates were putting lime in their grog to make it taste better, and they didn't realize they were helping.
They were actually fighting scurvy on accident?
Yeah. And it was actually not
cool.
until 1753 where a physician in England realized that it was the limes, the citrus, that was fighting scurvy. And they actually started...
So it's like 100 years into like major piracy.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, you think the Europeans were coming to the New World on month-long voyages.
Yeah.
It would take anywhere from a month to 6 months, depending on the winds, to get across the Atlantic Ocean. And they said at the time, it was common...
Could you imagine being on a fucking ship for 6 months before you see land again?
Yeah, there's these areas of the Atlantic, and it's in the Pacific too. It's called the doldrums.
The doldrums, yeah.
Where there's no wind, and like they said, ships would just get stuck for like a month and not be able to get through, and until finally the current would drift them enough to where they could get back in the winds. At the time, before all this, because so you had England and France and Portugal at the time had a big navy. And Spanish. That was from the 1400s all the way till the 1750s that they were coming to the New World and dying of scurvy before they really figured out what was causing it. It said at those times, it was normal for a ship to lose 50% of its crew to disease, mainly scurvy, on a long distance voyage like that. That was
terrible.
Yeah. How
long does a lime last?
I don't know. I've had
like lime's gotta last for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if it comes down to like losing all your teeth or chewing on a soggy lime, I'm chewing lime.
Exactly. And that's where the term limey comes from. Was sailors chewing on limes or drinking lime juice.
I never even thought of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Yep. That's where they get it from. So yeah, they realize the limes and this saves them.
I like it.
Heck yeah. Oh man, I like that rum. I've never had that blue.
Yeah, so that's
Blue Chair Bay.
Blue Chair Bay is based on and owned, I believe, by Kenny Chesney.
Okay.
And it's named after his song, Old Blue Chair, which is my favorite Kenny Chesney song, probably. It's one of my top 2.
She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy?
That's not. That was cool for like 98 or whatever. Yeah. But very hokey. Old Blue Chair had some meaning behind it. It was great. It was a well-written song. And fun fact, Kenny Chesney's former steel guitarist, Jim Bob Garrett, has 2 daughters named Jessica and Mandy, and they were my babysitters when I was a little kid.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so Jim Bob Garrett's ex-wife, Val, is one of my mom's best friends.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jessica and Mandy, wherever you are, eat a lime. Don't get scurvy.
We'll stick that up front.
Yeah, that shit's good. I enjoy it.
Blue Chair Bay. Well, it's like Kenny Chesney he has his rum, and then you got Jimmy Buffett that has his Cabo Wabo.
No, Cabo Wabo's Sammy Hagar.
Oh, that is. And then the Margaritaville tequila. So you got all these celebrities and these singers coming out with their own lines of spirits now.
Yeah. A lot of them do. Ryan Reynolds got the Aviation Gin, and George Clooney started a tequila company. I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember that one. And then the one I want to try, I haven't tried yet, is The Rock's, Dwayne Johnson's tequila. I've heard
he started one.
I heard it's really good.
Really?
If you like tequila. And I do like tequila.
I like tequila, but Keisha has demanded that I don't drink tequila because I have a tendency to get a little violent on tequila.
You like to fight a little bit.
I don't like to fight anymore. I have a history of fisticuffs, as they say.
Yeah.
But I haven't been in a fight in a lot of years.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in one again. So I avoid tequila when I can. Once in a while, you just can't.
If you have to for research purposes, then you...
Yeah. I'll get a little bit lively on tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. My fuse gets real short.
Well, you hear about some people doing it with whiskey, like Jack Daniels. I can't drink that because that'll make me want to fight.
I can drink Jack all goddamn day, and I don't fight at all. I don't know why. Jack is like my happy place.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably one of those things really that nobody truly knows exactly why and it's probably just some
mental. It's to a point. I think that you just have probably had a bad experience with whatever drink before.
Yeah. And
now you associate it with that, and now it's like, oh,
and your mind is already in that
drank
place.
Some Jack, so now I got to throw a punch at a motherfucker.
Yeah.
When I
talk yourself into it more likely to.
I turned 18 in Cancun. Me and 3 of my buddies went down to Cancun, and we stayed at this resort. It was a topless resort, which I turned 18 down there. I guess we didn't go down for my birthday. We just went down for a senior trip, and it happened to coincide with my birthday. So when you're 17 years old and there's just tits everywhere, it was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of shitty because the only place you can drink the water out of the tap, right? Because it's Mexico. And the only place that had water was the gift shop. Oh. And it was only open like 2.5 hours a day at like between like 8 and 10:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah, you're not getting up that early.
So we no shit drank liquor for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 8 fucking days. And I never want to do that again. Like it was like by the 8th day, I was like, somebody fucking kill me. I need water.
I went to a place in Costa Rica, and it was an all-inclusive resort down there, and that was all-inclusive. That included drinks too. Some of these places, there it's all the food.
Yeah,
but it doesn't include.
Ours was also all-inclusive with drinks.
But yeah, and they had your room. They had a little mini bar in your room stocked. But they had in the little restaurant downstairs. They just had kegerators, and you just go and just fill your cup up from the kegerator whenever you felt like it. And I brought a Yeti cup and would fill it up. Just go fill it up with beer and carry it around. And
that's pretty awesome.
And it was great because you just had beer 24/7, but then you had like a little mini bar with like rum and tequila and stuff in your little room too. But yeah, I drank the whole time there too. I was ready to dry out by the time I got. Yeah,
it's rough. Yeah, I don't think I drank, and this is because I was a partier in high school. I drank a lot in high school, and yeah, man, I don't think I drank for like a month after that trip. Like, couldn't fucking even.
Just couldn't handle it.
It just made me sick to think about.
Yeah,
but it was a good 18th birthday.
I bet you that was.
Yeah,
I'll
tell that story at some point. It's just It's a series of odd events.
So we can do that story when
we'll do one on birthday parties or something.
We'll do a birthday or when we talk about tequila, since it's in Mexico, we can do it during that.
Yeah, we can do that. That's a good idea. Anyway, back to the Pirates.
Back to Pirates. Well, let's see here. We talked about scurvy. Yeah, you definitely eat your limes on that.
Yeah, you guys, don't get scurvy.
Well, so do you want to talk about some of the treasure that has made people want to find pirate treasure and stuff? You said you had a story about treasure.
Well, I have a story about treasure, but it wasn't pirate treasure. It's mountain treasure, I guess.
Mountain treasure.
So, Forrest Finn was an eccentric collector, I will say. Okay. They call poor people weird and rich people are eccentric. Well, he was eccentric.
Yeah.
He was very well off, but he was a little odd. He was born in West Yellowstone, Montana, and grew up around Yellowstone National Park. West Yellowstone is the west entrance of Yellowstone National Park, for those of you that don't know. By the way, Yellowstone National Park got hit with all-time record flooding this week, so if the towns up there could definitely use your support. And they don't want you to send just money, just go visit. If you get a chance, you want to see a beautiful place, they could definitely use the support. So if you guys have a vacation coming up, think about Yellowstone. They need you.
Yeah, if you go visit, it's
the 150th anniversary of Yellowstone National Park, the very first national park. So go and celebrate with everybody down there. Help out the towns.
Going and visiting and spending your money there, that's going to help contribute to the local economy there. It's going to help people get back on their feet and help them.
That's what they need, guys. Anyway, not to get off on that. That's my little charity plug, I guess, for the week. But, he grew up in West Yellowstone, around that area, and he ended up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And in 1988, he got diagnosed with renal cancer, kidney cancer. And they gave him just a few months to live. Okay. I think they gave him like 9 months to live, whatever in there. And he decided he wanted to leave a legacy. So, while he felt good and strong and able, he put together a treasure chest.
Okay.
And he hid it. And the story was, he hid it somewhere between Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the Canadian border in the Rocky Mountains.
Wow.
That's
a long...
It's an enormous swath of land. And several mountain ranges make up the actual Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains are the parent range, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's several smaller I won't say island, but branches of the Rockies that break off. And I heard I talk about Montana too much. Fucking deal with it. I grew up there. I love it. Sorry. Anyway. There are several, like I grew up running mostly around the Beartooth Mountains in Montana, which are at basically the north end of Yellowstone National Park, Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness, what they call it. But you got so many other mountain ranges that make up the Rockies.
Yeah.
And he hid it somewhere in there, was the thing. And he had spent time all over the Rockies. So you couldn't necessarily tie it down to one area.
Yeah, you couldn't just track his footsteps where he's been or whatever. Yeah,
because he'd been, the dude had been everywhere.
Yeah,
and he had the money to do it, and he did it right. So that treasure stayed. He wrote a poem.
Okay,
and I will read the poem.
So have they found the treasure?
It was found 2 years ago.
Wow,
in Wyoming. The guy who found it swore, and it is amazing, by the way. Forrest Finn didn't fucking die. He thought he was going to die, so he buried the treasure, and then the dude lived on.
That's awesome.
And
so
he lived until his treasure was found. It was found, and he died about a month later.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I mean, it's amazing. You got your reason to live, and I think that you can, scientifically, you can probably explain it a million different ways, but you can't explain that away. Like, the guy lived until his treasure was found, and I think at that point, he just decided, my story has been written, my life is complete.
Yeah, there's my legacy.
Here we go.
That's pretty cool.
What an amazing legacy to leave. The guy was just, top notch to create a story like that. But anyway, he wrote the poem. The guy who found it, they've released that it was found in Wyoming, but the guy, Forrest Finn, essentially, I think he emailed Forrest Finn a picture of where it was, and Forrest Finn agreed, that was the place, and that this was the treasure. It wasn't a hoax, because over the years, people have died in Colorado.
Yeah.
Trying to find, there was a few deaths in Colorado. I think there was one in Wyoming. People trying to find the treasure over the years, which is tragic, but
yeah,
inherently a risky choice to go treasure hunting.
Yeah,
I mean, you're being in the mountains. You take risks anyway. You may fall down in a ravine or down a river or whatever.
Yeah.
You're doing a risky. You're making a risky life choice.
Yeah.
So if you lost someone to the treasure hunt, that sucks, guys. But people make their choices, and you got to respect it.
Well, I mean, when you're out in nature, like you said, anything can happen. It doesn't matter if you're out there treasure hunting, or out there hunting, or out there hiking.
You could run across a bear, or so much as a sprained ankle could take you out in the woods.
Yeah,
it's a true story.
Yeah, if you can't make it back to your car or your campsite, you could just hypothermia.
Get dehydrated, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, Forrest Finn, he agreed that this was the treasure, whatever, but he made the guy promise to never divulge where in Wyoming it was found. So all we know for sure is that it was found in the state of Wyoming.
Okay.
Which makes sense, because
I wonder if they're going to try to hide another treasure at some point. That's why he didn't want to.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah.
So I'll read the poem first. It's
So this is the poem he wrote to. This is the.
This
clue?
was his treasure map.
Okay.
It was a poem that was a treasure map. Let me find it. I had it here earlier. I think this is it. That's not it.
That's pretty creative too to
go.
write a poem and leave the clues like that, because normally it's just like little riddles.
Yeah. And then I will explain to you how I figured out where the treasure was.
Okay.
And I was completely fucking wrong.
He was completely wrong.
I was. Whatever. It says, "As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where a hint of riches new and old. Begin it where the warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down, not too far, but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. From there it's no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh, there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The treasure I already know, I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good, your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold."
Huh.
So it's the way he's written it, there are so many clues in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that stands out to me is where the hot water...
Where the warm waters halt.
Yeah.
That immediately drew me towards the Firehole River, which is a river in Yellowstone National Park that is fed by the hot springs.
That's what I was going to say.
The geysers.
Hot springs.
And you can actually go swim in the river, and it's like 80 degrees. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I basically mapped out the park, which I have been to 100 million times. And I actually, so as it says in there, begin where warm waters halt. I think it's the Gardner River is the last river north in the park that still has heated waters.
Okay.
So I started my quest there.
Okay.
And I went north. And then I went and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. So, the canyon gave me a clue. Not far, but too far to walk means you can't walk there to me, and put in below the home of Brown. Now, I'll explain to you what I came up with, and then what the general consensus is, which I did not agree with, but it ended up being right.
Okay.
So, begin where the warm waters halt. I believe it's the Gardner River is the last thermogenically?
Yeah.
Whatever. Really heated river. I don't care. And take it in the canyon down. Just north of Gardner, Montana, which is just on the north border of the park.
Yeah.
You go into what's called Yankee Jim Canyon. Right? So take it in the canyon down. That's on the Yellowstone River.
Okay.
Not far, but too far to walk. To me, that said, you have to put in the river and raft across.
Yeah.
Because you can't walk it. Put in below the home of Brown.
So you're putting in your raft in wherever this home of Brown is.
The put-in point for Yankee Jim Canyon, and you won't find this on a map. On the map, it's just a numbered turnout. But everybody up there calls it Brown's Turnout.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, not necessarily below, but downstream. Because the Yellowstone River actually flows north out of the park.
Yeah.
And then east and joins the Missouri.
Yeah.
So I thought downstream of where the Gardner River, which is the last hot river, flows into the Yellowstone, then it cools off, goes down Yankee Jim Canyon, put in the canyon, and then you got a raft because you can't walk there.
Yeah.
All this shit lined up to me. I thought for sure Yankee Jim Canyon, opposite side of the road, which would be the west side of the road, and there's some lakes up in there, and I thought for sure this is going to be where it is. So my plan was, and then there's some other things in here. From there, it's no place for the meek. John Meek was an explorer who was chased by Native Americans from the Gallatin Canyon, which is the next canyon over, where the Gallatin River. He was chased across the mountains to Yankee Jim Canyon.
Oh, okay.
So it says there's no place for the meek. So I was thinking John Meek, the explorer.
Go to where he was at, yeah.
Right. The end is ever drawing nigh. That told me that it was near the end of the canyon. Was my guess. If you've been wise and found the blaze, the treasure was hidden in 1988, which was the year of the Great Yellowstone Fires.
Oh, okay.
So the blaze to me meant all the Yellowstone fires and that's the last time that the park was shut down. This year, with all the flooding, is the first time since the fires of 88 the whole park is shut down.
Yeah.
And I went through in 88. My dad and I drove through, and I remember, the fire on the sides of the road, and that's what I thought, oh shit, the blaze,
Yeah.
It was hidden in 88. It's somewhere around Yellowstone. Anyway, I don't remember all my other little clues that I had come up with, but I read way into this, and I thought, all my dots lined up, man. I had figured it out. Anyway.
Did you go to the opposite direction?
Yeah, so I believe it's the Madison Campground in Yellowstone is the headquarters for the National Park Service, if I remember, or whatever. I don't know, something with that. And Forrest Finn had, in his writings, which I never thought to even look at, had called it the home of Brown because their color is brown.
Oh,
so it was somewhere around there is my guess. I don't know that. But I thought I was on the fucking right track.
Oh, man. And, that sounds good.
And you know what's funny is because I had 8 people ready to go do this draft trip. I was going to split the money with everybody. Like I said, it was about the journey, not the treasure.
Yeah.
I mean, the treasure was the ultimate goal, but really it was just having fun with my friends, and this treasure hunt sounded like so much fun.
Not even that, though.
And we were going to
find treasure.
Well, that was what we were going to do, is because I think it's a 5-mile float, and once you're in, you're in. You're not getting out. You have to finish. So we were just going to drive back, take a vehicle down, raft down, drive back up, raft down again, and just keep exploring. Because once you explore this, you can't go back up.
Yeah.
So you'd have to finish out and then go down. So that was my plan, was just to spend like a week in there rafting and searching for this treasure.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a hell of a good time.
That'd be fun,
like,
too.
That
Just
sounds
great. I love float trips.
Great stories, even if you never found anything. Just great memories with some of your really good friends.
Yeah.
But anyway, we never got to make the trip because we were, no shit, planning on doing this. And then 2 months before that, the treasure was found.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Whatever. It is what it is. I'm glad somebody found it because there were people who said that the treasure wasn't real.
Oh, wow.
That it was all bullshit. And it wasn't. I mean, it really was an American treasure hunt, which is, it really caught the attention of the world. And it was funny because it would be like a big deal for a few months, then it would kind of die out.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, it would be back at the forefront of the news, and then it would, die out again. But yeah, like, a handful of people died, which, sucks. But
yeah. Well, I mean, and that happened. So, speaking of treasure and people dying, that's a good little segue, I guess. Have you seen the History Channel show, The Curse of Oak Island?
Yeah, I have. Regrettably, I'm not a fan, but
I kind of got hooked on it a little bit.
Yeah, Fred used to watch it at work all the time, and I got sick of it. It was interesting when I wanted to watch it, but then it got really old when I had to watch it.
I haven't seen the last couple seasons of it. So
Did they ever find it?
I don't. So maybe, hey, leave a comment and tell us if they found anything yet or not, because I haven't seen the last 2 or 3 seasons of it, so I don't know what they have found or not. That was the whole thing. That was their legend. It was a Templar treasure. Like the Knights Templar had escaped Europe and actually came to the New World way before anybody else had ever.
Which is crazy because you think about they have found Viking stuff even up into Alaska.
Yeah,
and
they found runes carved into stones in Michigan and Minnesota and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. So there was a presence here from Europe. Way before
Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leif Erikson is supposedly the first.
Yeah, that was 1056 or 10.
Yeah, but even that, you can't guarantee that was the first person.
Exactly.
Polynesians were coming across,
Yeah,
nobody even knows when, but they were coming across in little tiny carved out, dugout canoes.
Yeah, and that was the legend with that they had found with the Curse of Oak Island thing. It was supposedly there was some sort of legend saying that. It was 7 people would die before the treasure.
Oh
was
yeah,
found.
I remember that. And finally, the 7th one died, right?
I know there was the last I saw. I think there were 6 had died. I don't know if anybody else has died.
I thought somebody else had died a year ago.
Yeah, so
leave a comment, guys.
But I tell you what, though, that legend is so renowned and so sought after that. Did you know that FDR, when he was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president during World War II. During the Great Depression was before he was president, when he was a college student, he went and searched for that treasure on Oak Island when he was in his 20s. There's pictures
of a bunch of his friends and a bunch of booze and a raft.
Pretty much, a bunch of he was there. They've got pictures of him when FDR when he was there.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, so he was a treasure hunter too.
Weren't you telling me about an astronaut treasure hunter?
That one was really interesting. So. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, I'll have to look it up, but there was a guy, he heard about, the astronaut Gordon Cooper, he was a NASA astronaut in the 1960s.
Okay.
He was a part of the Mercury and Gemini program, so those are the programs that was the predecessors to the Apollo program.
Okay.
So
they never went to the moon, but they went into space.
They went into space. So the Mercury astronauts basically proved that you could just get to space.
Okay.
And then the Gemini started doing some of they were the first ones to orbit. They were the first ones to do a lot of the space research just to show that humans could survive in space. Like the part of the Gemini program, they did the first spacewalk where they got outside the vehicle, did that kind of stuff. So some of the Mercury and Gemini astronauts, I think Neil Armstrong was in the Gemini program as well, and then he ended up being the first man on the moon.
Yeah.
But so Gordon Cooper was one of the Mercury and Gemini astronauts. Well, he's one of the first men in space. He was, I don't remember exactly his number, but he was one of the first 10 people in space.
Yeah.
And
more than we'll ever do.
Yeah. And just think how wild this is, though. Back then, you're he was a Navy pilot, and I think that's how he got on the subject because he was in the Navy. We're gonna put you in a capsule, and we're gonna stick you on top of an ICBM and just shoot you in outer space, and hopefully you make it back. I mean, imagine that. Because the first Mercury missions, the capsules were actually mounted on Atlas ICBM missiles.
I knew that.
So he flew Gordon Cooper. He was a history buff. He really liked maps. He actually was a really good artist. He drew a bunch of maps, and he
was an amateur cartographer.
Yeah. Well, he got into searching, like in his off time where he'd go on leave. He would go to the Caribbean and look for shipwrecks. He would look for pirate shipwrecks or the Spanish.
He was Matthew McConaughey in Fool's Gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is back in the this is the early 1960s when this happened. This is back before we had any kind of satellites that kind of could take any kind of pictures from space or anything like that.
So, like, your eyes were your weapon. Right?
Your eyes, yeah.
You were hunting from space, though.
This is back when the first spy satellites took pictures with film cameras, and they jettisoned the film and they on a parachute, and they had to come by and scoop them up. Because they didn't have no way to transmit the pictures back to Earth and stuff like that.
I wonder how many film canisters didn't get recovered.
Exactly. I wonder what they were looking at.
Yeah.
So, Gemini 5 was the mission, and basically he was to orbit Earth. He's in a capsule by himself. All these missions up to this point were solo. For one thing, the capsule was tiny. Only one person could fit in it, pretty much.
The size of an outhouse.
Yeah. And this was because part of the Apollo program coming up, getting a little bit of history of that, was you were supposed to rendezvous in space with the command module and the service module were to link up in space so they could go to the moon. So this was just showing that you could do maneuvers like that in space. So he completed 120 orbits of Earth on his Gemini 5 mission.
How long is it? How long is an orbit?
I think he was up there for 3 days. Might not have been that long.
But still, that's...
I forgot to look exactly how long of a time period that was. But he wanted to search for shipwreck. He had his checklist of stuff he was supposed to do while he was in space.
But they gave him some fuck off time.
They gave him some fuck off time too. So he took a camera and some binoculars, some
big old Bushnell
binoculars, yeah. And while he was orbiting over the Caribbean, he used his binoculars and camera to document shipwrecks in the Caribbean because the water's clear and shallow, and he's orbiting up, and he could see. So he created a bunch of maps of shipwrecks that he wanted to go back and explore later.
You want to talk about what a perfect job for you to work on your hobby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to know where these shipwrecks are. I would be an astronaut.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing was, too, he didn't tell anybody about it for a long time. I think he kept all this a secret with himself because he's afraid NASA might overreact or the Navy might overreact about it. So he didn't tell anybody about it. And he wrote all these maps and stuff, and then he passed some of the stuff down to his son, and then his son really, I don't think, ever really showed much interest in it. And then so this guy that I saw it from, I can't remember his name, but he was researching this, and he was able to get a lot of the maps and document. He had a diary and stuff, and he found all this documentation for some of the shipwrecks. And this guy actually went to the Turks and Caicos Islands in the Caribbean and found a couple of shipwrecks that he had spotted from space.
That Cooper had found from space. He
found this big Spanish anchor from a ship. And he found the ballast pile. The ship was gone and rotted away, but he found a pile of rocks where that were in the keel of the ship and the anchor. And he found some of the shipwrecks that Cooper
had seen from space.
That's
incredible.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat for being able to do that from at that point back then. Yeah.
Have you heard about the ship in the Salton Sea?
No, I don't think I've.
So
you're talking about the Dead Sea?
No, the Salton Sea in California.
Oh, no.
So, there's supposedly a pirate ship in the Salton Sea
Really?
that sailed around South America and up to the California side.
Yeah.
And the Salton Sea was a lake, and still at times becomes a lake when the tides are just, they have to be right.
Yeah.
And that's what they say, is that ship had gone upstream when the currents carried it into the Salton Sea and got stuck.
Huh.
So there's a story, and I don't remember the guy's name, but this was in like the 1890s out there.
Yeah.
He was out there and found a whole bunch of pearls.
Really?
And that's true. Like that's documented true. He found all these pearls that had no business being there, and he put them in his pockets, and he carried them with him to L.A.
Yeah.
And told the story that he found a ship out in the Salton Sea. And over, even now today, once in a while, there's a sighting of it.
Huh.
That it's buried in the sand out there.
Yeah. If it's in the sand dunes drift.
Then the sands will shift over time and uncover it, and then cover it back up. So there's off the coast of Africa. Have you seen this? There's I don't know if it's Kalahari or it's one of the deserts in Africa that borders the ocean.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there are several ships.
Yeah.
In the sand, like 200-300 feet from the ocean.
Yeah.
But over time they'll get beached, and over time the desert is actually moving.
Yeah.
West.
Yeah, it actually makes the land encroach further west.
So those ships are landlocked.
Yeah.
And
I've heard about that, yeah.
So yeah, that's the theory with this one in the Salton Sea, is that it's a pirate ship. No one knows whose it was. Wow. No one knows even if it's true, but there have been sightings, several sightings over the years, and someone did find just a boatload of pearls out there.
Sounds like they need to get one of those. They're doing those satellite imageries, the LiDAR imagery from like the Amazon, and they're finding ancient like Mayan and
ruins
Incan
and
and stuff. Maybe they could do that with the sands.
I think that'd be awesome to just the treasure is great, but just for the historical aspect that pirates made it around.
Yeah, exactly.
Around Tierra del Fuego and into California.
Yeah.
So that's I believe, and I would have to look it up. I think that was kind of the inspiration for the Goonies, because the Goonies took place in Oregon. Yeah. And that was the story, was that the pirates had come around and gotten as far up as I think Astoria, Oregon is where that took place.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the inspiration for One-Eyed Willie. It was the pirate ship that made it to Oregon.
That's pretty neat. Imagine that. Imagine you're in the desert and you find a ship.
A fucking pirate with a Jolly Roger and all, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then you tell people, and then you go back and they're like, you liar.
You're crazy.
No, it was here 2 days ago.
I swear.
Yeah. No. You look like the asshole. I'm going to skip out on the Malibu. We brought Malibu too, but it's in a plastic jug. And I like my stuff out of glass bottles because I'm upper crust.
There you go.
And this Kenny Chesney stuff's alright.
That's not bad at all.
No, I'm a fan. And I'm not really a rum guy. I don't like sweet alcohol for the most part. So this ain't bad though. Although I will tell you a story. I went down TDY to Florida. I don't know what year it was. 07 maybe. And I don't know why. But we were drinking rum out of coffee pots. No clue. But we were just drinking it straight. And I ended up waking up at like 2 in the morning. I was the first one to pass out, which never be the first one to pass out at a party.
Oh, yeah.
But I was the first one to pass out, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I just had a pair of clippers laying next to my head.
Oh, no.
And I just did one of these, and they had skunk striped me in my sleep. So I ended up having to shave my head.
That's that's a rude awakening.
It sucked, but whatever. It grew back. Well, this has been fun.
It has been
informative.
Some of these stories, they're addicting to. Especially if you like the history. I mean,
yeah.
And the treasure hunt. Who doesn't love a treasure hunt?
Well, I mean, like we were saying, man. There's so many board games and and children's games and even into adulthood games that are all just essentially a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
So,
well, guys, as we sit here and we finish our other
rum drinks.
Cuba Libre. I like saying that.
What was the other drink we were going to do?
I have some stuff to make a mojito over there.
Oh my God, mojitos.
Yeah. So
did you bring lime?
I got lime, and I got the mint, and then...
Or not mint, I mean lime. Yeah, I meant mint. I don't know. I'm drunk.
So it's a good, refreshing summertime drink.
And it is hot as fuck. You know, we talk about how cold it gets in here. Man, it's hot right now.
Yeah.
It's breathy in this shit.
Balmy, I guess they would call it.
It's hot as fuck because it's humid.
We're going to put an air conditioner in here, I think.
As I stated, we went out of town today and got our Airstream. So next week, with the blessing of my... Key should be out of town next week.
Oh.
We're doing it in the Airstream next week.
Yeah, better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I forgot she's got to go to Vegas next week for work.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, Keisha, guess what? Next week we're doing it in the Airstream.
There we go. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do it on next week, but do our...
Glamping.
Glamping.
Oh, that's fucking funny. I won't tell her till after.
Yeah. So tune in next week for the studio update, and we'll...
It'll probably be the one and only out of the Airstream.
Yeah.
But I'm going to need some AC, because it's been like 100 degrees every day. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and like we said, this was our very first fan reach out and suggest a show. I enjoyed it. This
great.
was a good one. Yeah, it gave us... That's the thing, is when we do this ourselves, we're kind of just coming up with ideas and going. But it is nice to have somebody else steer the ship.
Steer the ship. I like that. I like how you did that. And the thing is, too, we touched on several different subjects. And I kind of always do in every episode. So if there's anything that you hear us mention during an episode that you maybe want us to take a deeper dive into, or to get a little bit more detailed into something, let us know. Leave us a comment and say, hey, go a little more detailed with Captain Kidd, or go a little more detail with...
Yeah, that's the thing, man, is we love to read.
Yeah.
And we're nerds like that. I'm a history guy. I think Travis is a little more brushed up on his facts than I am, which is...
Well, that's the thing. I like stats, and I like to read and get the facts and stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm not as much of a rabbit hole digger as you.
I will go deep into a rabbit hole.
But I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. This was a good week. We really liked it. This was a fun one.
It was. So yeah, please leave us a comment, like, and subscribe. You'll see us on YouTube and on all the major podcast players. So hit us up, and hope you guys enjoyed it.
Don't get scared.